Hello, everyone. My name is Reverend Zackrie, and I'm the minister here at Cedars Unitarian Universalist Church, and I use he, him pronouns. So this Sunday is the final Sunday that I will be in the pulpit in our first year together. The next 2 Sundays, I'm going to be away from Cedars, and June represents the end of our church year, and July, the beginning of a new church year. And so this is the last service of the end of our first year of shared ministry together. And I just want to say how grateful I am to be the minister here at Cedars. I really, really care for and love this congregation and feel proud to be the minister of this congregation. You all are some really caring and committed people, and I have been honored with the level of trust that you have put in me as your minister. And so I just want to say thank you. Despite all the challenges of this first year and the shift to these virtual services, I can't think of any other congregation I would rather be serving right now. And I really do feel blessed to be your minister. And I'm looking forward to returning in July, refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready to start our second year of shared ministry together. The second year of what I pray will be many more years of ministry. So while I'm gone, you'll have 2 virtual services that will take place using the Zoom video conference platform. Details for each of these services will be sent out the Friday before the service. So you'll receive an email on Friday, June 19th for the service on the 21st, and Friday, June 26th for the service on the 28th. So be on the lookout for those details on Friday. Also, since staff won't be around, if you don't get it or you would like to access it, please reach out to another member or friend of the congregation. And hopefully between each other, you can get access to it. If for some reason things get complicated, I ask that you just have some grace. These are new systems. We made the shift to these virtual services. It took us a while to get things going. We've just got this feeling solid, and now we're adding more layers to it. And so as things complex, there'll be some hiccups, but I encourage you to just lean into the fact that this is new. We're continuing to bring the church into the 21st century. And with that, there's a lot of innovation, but oftentimes with innovation comes a few hiccups. So I apologize. I think it's all set up clear. The emails are scheduled. But if things feel confused or wonky, I ask for your grace and forgiveness. The other thing is I wanted to just briefly check in again about our conversation from last week's service about the sin of racism and the lie of white supremacy. And I encouraged each of you to spend some time thinking about how you can educate yourself, what actions you can take, and really say, this is as much as my work is my work, your work is your work. And I want to encourage you all, that conversation happened, but it's not done. Keep having it. This week, I spent some time having my own personal dialogue and reading resources. I've shared resources on our church Facebook page. And I spent time doing the toxic thing of arguing with people I would call white supremacists on Facebook, calling them what they are, calling them racists, calling what they say a sin. In that, one of the things that's come up is a lot of people have used some choice words for me. Some of them are kind of creative. I would say, though, that people have told me in doing this, in pushing back and calling a racist, people have told me I'm a hypocrite because that's not what Jesus would do, to which I say, well, we may or may not be Christian, depending on how you identify with your own personal Unitarian Universalist faith. But I think the one that made me laugh the most was someone telling me that as a gay man, I shouldn't be preaching the word of God. To which I say, too bad. Here I am, and I feel called to this work, and I feel called to call you on your sin, just like I feel called to call myself on my own sins, my own shortcomings, my own missing the mark. And so I would say these words, these names that have been hurled at me are a bit of a badge of honor. But for those of you who are looking to continue this conversation and continue exploring for yourself how you can get involved, I'd encourage you to join in with our the conversation that will be taking place after the virtual coffee hour following the live stream of this service. So if you come to the coffee hour, after that wraps up in the same meeting, members of our social justice ministry here at Cedars are going to, along with some support from me, we're going to have a conversation about race and racism. And if you're wondering how you can do something to counter this sin, come show up in this conversation. We're not done talking about this. The issue hasn't gone away. We have a lot of work to do. And this is just the beginning. So please continue to do that work. Even while I'm away, if you're struggling, talk with each other. We've got to keep talking. We've got to keep showing up. So I say that and encourage you to keep showing up. Today, though, we are really talking about food security, nutrition, access to good nutrition, and what that does when people do or don't have access to steady food supplies. And so for my sermon today, it's going to be short. I'm going to keep it short. I hope to get most of the talking done here at the beginning. But I'm going to share a personal reflection. I'm not going to get too deep into the issue. And it's honestly, I wanted to talk about this issue because for the month of June, we are encouraging people to send checks to the office with a memo that says food drive, because we're collecting monetary donations to be distributed between Helpline House and Fishline, and that these donations are meant to provide support to the summer nutrition support program for students in our community. And so I wanted to have a service that we did talk about this issue since we're having a special collection. But I also recognize that this is an issue I truly do believe that I'm preaching to the choir. Nothing I can say about access to food in terms of research and how it impacts the development of children or anything else is going to be news to you. At least that's my assessment in knowing you a little. You all know that food is important and people need to eat. And so we'll talk about it. But I also would encourage you this is more just a conversation encouraging us to, in general, keep justice issues at the center of our faith. And so with that said, I invite you to just settle in. Take a moment. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Let your muscles relax and your mind still as you settle in and we join together in singing today's opening hymn, Blue Boat Home.
Cry and heart can sing. I can sing. Good morning and welcome to our Sunday service. My name is Michael Cox and I am excited to be working with Reverend Zackrie and our music director Chris on this service. I also wanted to thank Kathleen Stearns for all her hard work to keep us all on track and moving forward during these challenging times. I think many of you may remember when we were kids and our parents would tell us that we needed to eat all the food on our plates because they were starving children in Africa. To be honest, when I was a kid, I never did understand, and it did not motivate me to eat the broccoli or Brussels sprouts on my plate. When I was in college, I learned about hunger and poverty around the world. A group of us would fast on Mondays and contribute the money we would have spent on food to Oxfam or UNICEF or some other organization. But I personally never really encountered hunger and malnutrition directly until I lived in Africa for 5 years. I remember seeing children with severe forms of malnutrition, that enlarged stomachs, open sores, dry, discolored hair, and very little energy. Where I lived, it was not possible to hide from the poverty that caused the hunger and malnutrition. It was outside my door whenever I left my house. I remember coming back to the U.S. and going to Safeway for the first time. It was, of course, overwhelming, and I remember having to walk out without buying anything because it was so disturbing. How could we have so much and others so little? But as time went on, I got back into my routine, and while the images of those starving kids still lingered with me, I moved on to life here in the U.S. As you know, we have many social, cultural, economic, and political issues in the United States that we can see and experience every day. We have homelessness that we can see every day in Seattle and on Bainbridge Island and the Kitsap Peninsula. We have racism, which is on display daily. We have prejudice against LGBTQ people that many of you have felt directly. We have income and wealth inequality that has only gotten worse over the past several decades. But hunger and food insecurity, at least for me, is harder to see and even harder to experience. But a quick Google search indicates that hunger and food security is a huge issue in the U.S. and globally. In the U.S., over 40 million people, including almost 15 million kids, struggle with food insecurity and hunger. Globally, it is estimated that over 815 million people regularly go to bed hungry every night, and that number is increasing again after many years of decline. Those are stunning numbers. So of course, we need to ask, what can we do both here and globally to address hunger and food insecurity? I assume many of you, like me, give to Helpline House here on the island, or Fishline, or Northwest Harvest, or some international organizations like Save the Children or UNICEF. We can volunteer at Helpline House and other places. And of course, we can increase our donations to organizations fighting hunger, and we'll talk about that later in the service. We can advocate for federal, state, and local governments to increase funding to programs that support families and individuals in need of food. And we can elect people to office that share our desire to end hunger in America and the world. More than ever, elections have consequences. I'm sure you have your own ideas, and I'd love if we could have a discussion soon on what we can do as individuals and a congregation to do more to fight hunger and food insecurity here and around the world. So I dedicate the lighting of our chalice to the hope that our individual and collective actions can work to reduce the amount of hunger and food insecurity and the suffering that it causes to the millions of people here and around the world. Please join me in repeating our affirmation. As we come together to worship, we remind ourselves to treat all people kindly because they are our brothers and sisters. To take good care of the earth because it is our home, and to live lives full of love and goodness because that is how we will become the best that we can be.
We worship with open hearts, nurture a learning spirit, serve justice with compassion, and love without judgment. We
As we continue exploring the idea of hunger not taking a break and building upon the reflection that Mike shared with us, I want to offer an animated version of the story Stone Soup for all of you to consider. And so this would be our time for all ages, if you will. This story that I'm going to show, the video was produced by August House and is part of their Story Cove collection. After we have this time for all ages, we'll continue with a moment of meditation together before sharing a prayer and continuing on with the rest of our service.
There was once a comfortable little village nestled in the mountains. The people who lived there had more than enough to keep themselves content. One day, 2 travelers came along. Their coats were tattered, their hats were torn, their dusty shoes had holes in their soles. Hungry and tired, one traveler said to the other, "Surely someone here can spare a bit of food?" They knocked boldly on a door. It creaked open, and a woman asked, "What do you want?" "Please," said one of the travelers, "we are hungry. Do you care? Will you share? Do you have any food?" The woman squinted her eyes and tartly replied, "No." She quickly slammed the door shut. The travelers walked a little farther down the road and knocked on another door. A young boy answered. His chocolate-brown eyes were sweet. "Good day," he said shyly. "What do you want?" "Please," said one of the travelers, "we are hungry. Do you care? Will you share? Do you have any food?" The boy replied, "There's no food here," and closed the door. The travelers wandered wearily through the village, knocking on every door, but everywhere they heard, "I don't care. I won't share. There's no food." They sat to rest beside a well. One traveler sighed and clutched his empty belly. He said, "If there is really no food in this elegant little village, then the people who live here are in greater need than we are. We should make them our magical soup." The 2 travelers climbed up on the edge of the well and shouted, "We are master cooks. If anyone in this town has a big black pot, we will make the most delicious soup anyone ever tasted." A door slowly opened. A round man emerged, carrying a gigantic black pot. "I love to eat," he said. "Here's a pot. Let me see what 2 master cooks can do with it." "Watch and see," said one traveler with glee. The travelers filled the pot with cold water and built a fire. Soon the flames licked the sides of the pot, and billows of steam rose into the air. Curious people began to gather. "What is happening?" the townspeople asked. "Oh, we are making an unusual soup," said one of the travelers. "It requires a special magical ingredient. I am certain we will find it in this town." All the eyes in the crowd watched as one of the travelers reached down and picked up an ordinary stone. He tossed it into the pot with a splash. "We're making stone soup," he said. "It will be nutritious, delicious, incredible, and edible, but it would taste better." He paused and sighed. "If we only had a carrot." "Where would we find a carrot in this town?" the other traveler asked. We knocked on every door, and everywhere we heard, "I don't care, I won't share, there is no food." "Then perhaps we cannot make the delicious soup after all," they both announced with a sad shrug of their shoulders, and began to turn away. A child timidly raised her hand and said, "Wait! I might have a small carrot." "Excellent!" shouted the travelers. "Bring what you've got. Put it in the pot. We're making stone soup." This magical soup would taste even better if we had a potato, they added. A deep voice in the back of the crowd called out, "I have a potato." "Wonderful!" shouted the travelers. "Bring what you've got. Put it in the pot. We're making stone soup." It would taste better still, they said, if we had just a few more ingredients. "Perhaps," said one villager, "I could bring a green bean." "Well," said another, "if you are going to bring a green bean, I will bring a kernel of corn." "I shall not be outdone," cried another. "I will bring an egg noodle." One by one, voices announced, "I will bring a slice of celery. I will bring a pinch of pepper. I can bring a sprig of parsley. I might have a tiny turnip." "Well, why are you waiting?" cried the travelers. "Bring what you've got. Put it in the pot. We're making stone soup." Everyone in the town ran home to bring one small thing to put in the pot. Food flew through the air and landed with splashes in the growing soup. Soon the huge pot was full and simmering. A wonderful smell drifted through the air. The smell was so tempting, people brought out bowls, spoons, chairs, and tables. They placed hearty loaves of bread, chunks of cheese, and bowls of fruit on the tablecloths. Everyone came to taste the soup and marveled at its flavor. "It's amazing," said one woman. "These two travelers made such a delicious soup out of a stone." "Out of a stone," said the travelers with a grin. "And a magical ingredient, sharing." As the travelers left the town, they said, "If anyone ever wants to make this soup again, just remember the recipe. Bring what you've got. Put it in the pot. Every bit counts, from the largest to the least. Together we can celebrate a stone soup feast."
We are physical beings. That means that we have physical needs. We need air. We can only go a few minutes at most without air. We need clean air. We need water. We can go a little longer without water than without air, but still, after a few days without water, we're not doing so well. And we also need food. We need the nutrients, the things that we eat that give us energy, that sustain us. And one of the things is that we know that people, depending on where they are located in our society or in the global society, have different degrees of access to food. Different, maybe, for us, we go to the grocery store often. Other places, that's not a luxury they have. And so as we continue to explore our theme today, I want us to take some time and to reflect, to meditate on our relationship with our sources of food. To think about where our food comes from, what foods we crave, or maybe we should eat more of. And not to pass judgment, but just to start really considering your relationship to the nutrients that sustains you. In a moment, where I will play a song, It's the song of praise composed and played by Smellow. And as this song is playing, I am going to have a short video montage of some of the plants growing in my garden or in my yard, food plants. And I just want you to take this time, listen to the music, see the images, but really to think about your own relationship to the food that you eat, to the food that sustains you. And so as we prepare to enter this time of meditation, I invite you just to let yourself relax again. Get back into that place we started the service at when we relaxed. Taking a deep breath in and out. And begin to think about your relationship, your connection to the nutrients that you consume. As we listen together to Chris's song of praise. Please open your hearts and join me in a spirit of prayer. Spirit of life, you who are called by many names in many tongues, be here with us in this moment, no matter when or where this moment happens to be for us. Dwell between us despite the physical distance that separates us, and remind us of the sacred connection and bond that we share, the countless filaments of thought and love that bind us together into one interdependent web of life. Help instill in us this day a sense of justice. A sense of justice that calls us to be a people who say no more. No more to systems of structural racism and white supremacy. No more to structures of capitalism that allow some to hoard food while others go without. To say no more to hunger. Let us say no more to hate and work more fully to affirm the worth and dignity of every person. Be with us, inspire in us, call us forward. At times, the path that lies ahead can feel uncertain, and especially in these uncertain times, the uncertainty is compounded. Help us to discern the path forward to us. Draw us by the heart, pulling us out of our comfort zone, out of our places of privilege into the world. Let us say no more to hate. And let us say more to love. May this be our prayer this day and in all the days ahead. May it be so. Amen. And blessed be.
We have a special collection today that is taking the place of our annual food drive we usually hold in June. The special collection is called Hunger Doesn't Take a Vacation. The special collection today is for Helpline House and Fishline. Helpline House is a community nonprofit agency on Bainbridge Island that provides many social services to help people meet their essential needs and includes a food bank. Fishline serves the North Kitsap community by providing food, emergency services, and resources to transform lives. Their vision is a community where a safety net exists for all people, which includes adequate food, shelter, health care, and employment. The goal for the special collection today is to fill food bank shelves at Helpline House and Fishline with kid-friendly food items for the summer because hunger does not take a vacation. As you may have seen or heard, the Bainbridge Island School District has been providing free lunches at a drive-through station at Ordway Elementary School for families on Bainbridge Island. However, it is not clear if they will continue during the summer. So in order to help fill this need, we are asking that people provide assistance to Helpline House and Fishline to keep their shelves full during the summer because hunger never takes a vacation. If you could please send checks to the Cedars Center made out to either Helpline House and or Fishline. Please note in the memo line that these funds are to be used to purchase kid-friendly food items and include your email in the memo line so they can send you a receipt for tax purposes. Thank you for your gifts.
Bring what you got and put it in the pot. Bring what you got and put it in the pot. I really like this way of thinking, this sort of resourcefulness that is shown in the story Stone Soup that we listened to earlier. And I think what I like about it is a story of, yes, resourcefulness, but also it's a story about a community coming together and caring for each other by pooling their resources and making sure that everyone in the end is fed and that their stomachs are full and satisfied. And I think that it's a story that really speaks to the power of community, the power of us coming together, and what was someone having a pot, and someone having a stone, and someone having some salt, and someone having a carrot or a noodle or an onion. Suddenly all of these separate things come together and become soup. And it's a powerful metaphor. But I also think that there is a level of literal truth to this story. And I say that because it's a literal truth that, to a degree, I've experienced in my life. Earlier, when Mike talked about the special collection this month and how we're encouraging people to send checks to the office, to make contributions towards Fishline and Helpline. And that specifically is to help with the summer food assistance program. And I was one of those kids growing up who was dependent on school lunches. In fact, in my family, we did breakfast and lunch at school. And so when the end of the school year came, there was a sudden drop-off in that food security. And we did receive food stamps. Washington State has some good benefits for families, but still we had 5 kids in our house. And so even with that assistance, it's hard to feed 5 kids when you're used to the kids getting 2 meals a day provided by the school. And so summer represented a time of precarious food situations. And one year in my family, this was compounded by the arrival of my stepdad's sister, my Aunt Priscilla. And Priscilla showed up with her 4 kids. So we had us 5 and her 4, so 9 kids in our house. And Priscilla said, we're just going to come and visit. And sure enough, in a few weeks' time, Priscilla left. But when she left her 4 kids with our family. And as I mentioned, this is the summer, and so we didn't have the access to the school lunches. And what was already a tight situation suddenly became a lot tighter. And there was someone we knew, a friend of our family, Lulu, who heard about this situation. And Lulu was a member of the Shoalwater tribe. My family lived just off of the Shoalwater reservation. And so Lulu, knowing us and hearing about this situation, she did something that I was very moved by even then. And she took, when the tribe was doing the distribution of commodities, she took her commodities and got some other people to give theirs. And she took those commodities, loaded them into her truck, and arrived at our house and delivered all of this food. And the thing about commodities is it's nutritional staples and then also lots of odds and ends fillers. It's not necessarily the food that you would have bought yourself had you gone to the store. Things like powdered eggs and milk, huge bricks of American cheese that is, a 2-foot long brick of cheese or something, and random other things. But despite all of that, this was food that could get us by. And it really, to me, had this spirit of bring what you got and put it in the pot. And also that question that was brought up throughout the story Stone Soup of, do you care? Will you share? And here was someone who cared and made the decision to share. And I think that's powerful because it speaks to me, or at least personally, to the role that we as individuals can play in providing food security for people in our community. And that's what our special collection is aimed at doing this month. And so I share this just as a personal reflection. As I said, I don't want to talk long. I believe that each of you knows about the nutritional importance of making sure people young people, children, students have access to good and nutritional food. I know as an adult, sometimes if I, am late eating lunch, I'll notice, I'll describe it as my blood sugar is dipping. And I might get grouchy or not be able to focus. Like, we know that even delaying a meal can cause us to not perform as well. And so what does not knowing where food will come from do? What does that going on for months or longer do? And how does that impact our relationship to food? And so I would encourage all of us to please make a contribution to the special collection this month. Let's do our part to show that we care and to share with the larger community, to work to end hunger in our community. As I said, this is a conversation about reminding us to keep justice issues at the core of our faith. And so, whatever you can get, bring what you got and put it in the pot. Let us pool our resources. Let us bring them together. Let us do our part to make sure that folks in our community who are dependent on those school lunch nutritional assistance programs, to make sure that all of those kids have the nutrition that they need over the summer. So I encourage you, bring what you got and put it in the pot. So that's all I have. That's my sermon for the day. I hope that we can rise to the occasion. I also, though, in closing, wanted to remind folks again, we will be spending the next 2 weeks, I will be away from Cedars. So as I said, that information will come out to you, an email about how to access the resources, the virtual services. But again, continue to take care of each other. Be gentle with yourselves. This is a hard and trying time. And we need to be ready to engage with the world, to work to end hunger, to work to end racism and white supremacy for the long run. This isn't a sprint. This isn't even a marathon. We're running something else entirely. And running may not even be a good metaphor. But let's be gentle. That's why I'm going to take some time away. That's why Chris and Kathleen are going to take some time away. We recognize that things might be a little bumpy. Please be graceful. We'll be back. And like all of you in this time, take care of each other. And when we come back, we'll pick up and get back at it. So my prayers of health and safety continue to be with you. And with that, I remind everyone that we will be having a Zoom coffee hour following the live stream of this service. Following the coffee hour in the same meeting, we'll be having a conversation about race and how we at Cedars can start having those conversations together. And now I would invite us to join in extinguishing the flame of our chalice and singing our closing hymn together.
Please repeat after me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.